Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parira Jakacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parira Jakacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhuma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jaya Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopit Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Vit Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Anatakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Nathra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, ISKCON Mahatma Guru Vrinda Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaura Pramanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Bhagavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Naram Namaskritya.
Narayana Namaskritya.
Naram Jayava Narottamam.
Naram Jaiva Narottamam.
Devam Saraswatam Vyasa.
Devim Saraswati Vyasam.
Tato Jayam Hridayat.
Jayam Virayet.
Nasta Presho Bhadreshu.
Vasaveshu Bhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Sivaya.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke. Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, and unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasdev, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by the rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. All right, so today is September 1st, 2024, and we're reading Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, and we'll be doing verse 24 and 25 today. Darhiva sarasastasman
Mariva Sarasastas.
Nishkramantam sahanugam
Vishwamantam Sahan.
Upagiyamanam amara
Mara.
Pravaram Bibudanugai Tapta Hemanikayabam Shitikantam Trilochanam Prasada Sumukam Bhikshya Pranimurjata Kautuka Darhyeva Sarasastasman Nishkramantam Sahanugam Upagiyamanam Amara Pravaram Bibudanugai Tapta Hemanikayabam Shittikanta Trilochanam Prasada Sumukam Bhikshya Pranemurjata Kautuka Darya Nishkramantam Sahanugam Upagiyamanam Amara Pravaram Bibudanugai Tapta Hemanikayabam Shittikanta Trilochanam Prasada Sumukam Bhikshya Prane Nurjata Kautuka.
Varyeva sarsastasman
Dareva Sarsastasma.
Nishkamantam sahanugam
Nishkramantam Sahanugam.
Vagiyamanamara
Upagayamanamara.
Pravaram vibudanugai
Pravaram Vibhudanagi.
Tatahema nikayamam
Taptahema Nikayamyam.
Shitikantam trilochanam
Shitikantam Trilochanam.
Sada samukam viksha
Prasada Srimukam Vikshya.
Pranimurjata kauntuka
Pranimurjata Kautuka. Doing this? Varyeva Sarastasman. Nishkramantam Sahanugam. Upagiyamanamara. Pravaram Vibhudanagi. Taptahema Nikayapyam. Shitikantam Trilochanam. Prasada Srimukam Vikshya. Pranimurjata Kautuka. Very good. Nice. Okay, we'll do word for word. Tarhi, in that very moment. Eva, certainly. Sarasaha, from the water. Tasmat, therefrom. Nishkramantam, coming out. Sahanugam, accompanied by great souls. Upagiyamanam, glorified by the followers. Amara Pravaram, the chief of the demigods. Vibudha Nugai, followed by his associates. Taptahema, molten gold. Nikaya Abam, bodily features. Chitikantam, blue throat. Trilochanam, with 3 eyes. Prasada, merciful. Sumukam, beautiful face. Vikshya, seeing. Pranimu, offered obeisances. Jata, aroused. Kautuka, being amazed by the situation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Prachetas were fortunate to see Lord Shiva, the chief of the demigods, emerging from the water with his associates. His bodily luster was just like molten gold. His throat was bluish, and he had 3 eyes which looked very mercifully upon his devotees. He was accompanied by many musicians who were glorifying him. As soon as the Prachetas saw Lord Shiva, they immediately offered their obeisances in great amazement and fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord. Please repeat. The Prachetas were fortunate to see Lord Shiva.
The Prachetas were fortunate to see Lord Shiva,
the chief of the demigods,
chief of the demigods,
emerging from the water with his associates.
emerging from the water with his associates.
His bodily luster was just like molten gold.
His bodily luster was just like molten gold.
His throat was bluish.
His throat was bluish.
And he had 3 eyes,
And he had 3 eyes,
which looked very mercifully upon his devotees.
which looked very mercifully upon his devotees.
He was accompanied by many musicians
He was accompanied by many musicians
who were glorifying him.
who were glorifying him.
As soon as the Prachetas saw Lord Shiva, they immediately offered their obeisances in great amazement and fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord. Purport. The word Vibhudhanugai indicates that Lord Shiva is always accompanied by the denizens of the higher planets, known as Gandharvas and Kinnaras. They are very expert in musical science, and Lord Shiva is worshipped by them constantly. In pictures, Lord Shiva is generally painted white, but here we find that the color of his skin is not exactly white, but like molten gold or a glowing yellowish color. Because Lord Shiva is always very, very merciful, his name is Ashutosha. Among all the demigods, Lord Shiva can be pacified even by the lowest class of men, who need only offer him obeisances and leaves of a bael tree. Thus his name is Ashutosha, which means that he is pleased very quickly. Generally, those who are very fond of material prosperity approach Lord Shiva for such benediction. The Lord, being very merciful, quickly awards all the blessings the devotee asks of him. The demons take advantage of this leniency and sometimes take benedictions from Lord Shiva, which can be very dangerous for others. For instance, Vrikasura took benediction from Lord Shiva by which he could kill everyone he touched on the head. Although Lord Shiva sometimes very liberally gives such benedictions to his devotees, the difficulty is that the demons, being very cunning, sometimes want to experiment improperly with such benedictions. For instance, after receiving his benediction, Vrikasura tried to touch the head of Lord Shiva. Devotees of Lord Vishnu, however, have no desire for such benedictions, and Lord Vishnu does not give his devotees benedictions which would cause disturbance to the whole world. Om Jnanatamrandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakaram Mayam Bharati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa Sagrajatan Sahaganana Raganata Tikvatam Tam Sajivam Savadetam Savajutam Parajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakambatamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagapate Gopesha Gopeka Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Japta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namaste Jivananda Jasmine Okay. So I apologize if this class ends up being a little short. I didn't have much time to prepare. It's been a very busy last few days. But I'll do my best. Yeah. That's why I'm glad you're always here, Lavanga. You've got nice stories to tell, and Kirtaneshwar as well. So we'll keep it going. Yeah. Huh? I know. I was alternating between being grateful and irritated. Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about Lord Shiva here, and Lord Shiva, he's one of the greatest devotees of Krishna, and to a great devotee of Krishna, we should offer all obeisances. This is why the spiritual master is worshipped as God. And, you know, I think most of the people in this room were at Jivananda Prabhu's Vyas Puja last night, and so we got to see a little bit of that loving worship and adoration, which can be confusing to some people. I was a little concerned because Tatiana brought her mother, and her mother had never, you know, experienced this and was expressing some kind of maybe unsureness about this whole Krishna consciousness thing. And so I was thinking, oh, are you sure you're going to bring her? This is pretty intense because I think people that don't understand that, you know, we're worshiping the spiritual master as God, but not because they are God, right? And so that can be confusing to people. But the spiritual master is like an ambassador, right? So an ambassador of a country, you know, gets all the respects of that country, you know, gets all the respects that the king or the president of that country would get, but they're not the king or the president, right? You know, and they're all obviously not that country either, but they're receiving all that respect of that position because they're the representative of that country or that king. And so in the same way, the spiritual master is the representative of Krishna. So I have this great book, which I think is out of print, The Spiritual Master and the Disciple. And it's just full of really amazing quotes about the spiritual master. Huh? It's just quotes. No. I mean, maybe it's rubbed off because it's really old, but no, it's just all Prabhupada quotes and scripture quotes. So wanted to read these. This is from the Bhagavatam, 11:17-27. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all demigods. So myself is referring to Krishna. So one should know the Acharya as Krishna. And never disrespect him in every way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. Here's another one. This is from also the 11th canto. My dear king, a disciple has to accept the spiritual master not only as spiritual master, but also as the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Super Soul. In other words, the disciple should accept the spiritual master as God because he is the external manifestation of Krishna. And then one more. This is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. According to the deliberate opinion of all revealed scriptures, the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. Lord Krishna, in the form of the spiritual master, delivers his devotees. So those are just a few of like so many quotes about the spiritual master. And so that's why we offer all respects to a great devotee, is because they're God's representative here on earth. They're Krishna's representative here on earth. So I have kind of a funny story. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, not worshiping the demigods, right? And so when I first started coming to Krishna consciousness, you know, in my little room here in the temple, I had all these pictures all over my room of Krishna in various, you know, forms. But the biggest thing in my room was this big giant tapestry of Lord Shiva. Covered the whole wall. And I put it up because I liked Lord Shiva and it was colorful and it covered the wall. And I think I ended up giving it to Darnell Prabhu because I got a bookshelf there. Huh? Excuse me, Divya Suna Prabhu. Yes. Pardon me. I don't know who that Darnell guy is. Because I had gotten a bookshelf, so you wouldn't be able to see him. It would have covered Lord Shiva. And so every day I would offer a little puja in my room, and I would offer incense to every single picture in my room. But I would skip over Lord Shiva, even though he was the biggest thing in my room, because I didn't want to worship the demigods, right? And And so, and I always felt kind of weird about it because I was like, everybody in the room was getting offered incense, but not Lord Shiva. And he's like the biggest guy in the room. And so one day I was talking with Sureshwara Prabhu about this, and he said, "Oh no," he said, "you can worship him as a great devotee of Krishna." He said, "He's probably wondering why you're ignoring him." And so then after that, I started offering him the incense too. Now I wouldn't be able to do that because there's just too many pictures in my room. I mean, I would just be in there all day. Mother Sundamani would be wondering why my service isn't done. So I just focus on my deities now. But yeah, and so that was me kind of not quite understanding, my fear of worshiping the demigods kind of made me not realize, yes, I could have worshipped him as the greatest devotee of Krishna. So what's the difference between worshiping a great devotee of Krishna and worshiping a demigod? So when we're worshiping a great devotee of Krishna, we know that Krishna is the one that is giving this person the power to be a great devotee, right? And generally we're doing it, not because we want some benediction or something, but because we just want to show love for the great devotee. And oftentimes when people worship demigods, it's usually for some kind of benediction. So, there's problems with worshiping the demigods too. One, that any benedictions you get from the demigods are temporary. The whole situation is like a transactional situation, right? Okay, I'm going to give you this worship and you're going to give me this benediction, whatever it might be, whether it be to do good on my test or to find a good husband or wife or to, get a boon so I can touch someone's head and have their head explode, whatever it is. And also the boons that the demigods give you, they're not necessarily going to be concerned whether that's good for you or good for others, because it's certainly not good for others if I touch their head and their head explodes, right? And it's probably not good for me if that happens too. It's kind of like, if your mom tells, you tell your mom, you're a little kid, and you say, I want ice cream, can I have ice cream? And she says, no, you have to eat your dinner first, right? And that's because your mom cares about you. She wants to make sure you're eating your vegetables and you're getting all the nutrients you need and not just filling up on, sugar and cream. But if you similarly go to the store and you tell the cashier, I want some ice cream, and then you have money, they'll say, here you go. They're not going to say, did you eat dinner first? Have you eaten all your vegetables? No, they're just going to give it to you, right? And so it's like that with the demigods, right? So I wanted to tell the story of Rikashura in a little more detail because it's like one of my favorite stories because it's just so kind of a little bit gruesome, and I like things that are a little bit gruesome. I don't know. So excuse me. So Rikasura, he was a demon, and one day he asked Narada Muni, who is the most easily pleased? Who's the most easily pleased demigod? And Narada Muni told him, well, Lord Shiva, he's the most easily pleased. He's also the most easily upset. He sees your good qualities, he's very pleased. He sees a little bit of your bad qualities, he's very displeased. So Rikashura decided to start worshiping Lord Shiva, and so he built a little sacrificial fire, and he actually started cutting off pieces of his own flesh and offering them into the fire, which is really gross. And well, I don't know. I don't think I could ever do that, but I'm not Rikashura. So he's offering his flesh into the fire, and Lord Shiva's not coming. And so after 7 days, he did this for 7 days, which is pretty impressive. He decides, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna cut off my head and offer my head into the fire. So he gets ready to cut his head off, and Lord Shiva comes up out of the fire and stops him. He grabs his hands and he stops him. He says, "Okay, hey, hey, don't do this. What do you need? What can I get for you?" So he gives Lord Shiva gives Rikashora a boon, and so he asks for the power to be able to anyone whose head he touches, they'll instantly die. And so Lord Shiva, he was a little concerned, but he gave him that boon. And so naturally, like a demon will, he immediately decided he wanted to test it out on Lord Shiva. And so he starts chasing Lord Shiva to touch his head. And Lord Shiva is like running away from him. He's running all over the universe, and he can't get away. Rikashora is there, just right behind him. So Lord Vishnu sees this from afar. He sees what's going on, and so he thinks, okay, I better step in here. This isn't going well. So Lord Vishnu, he disguises himself as a brahmachari, and then he said, so I'm just going to read this part because it's said far better than I could remember to say. So this is from the 10th canto. The Supreme Lord, who relieves his devotees' distress, has seen from afar that Lord Shiva was in danger. Thus, by his mystic yoga maya potency, he assumed the form of a brahmachari student with the appropriate belt, deerskin, rod, prayer beads. So where's your belt? Where's your deerskin? Where's his rod? You guys have beads. I know I've seen those, but okay. Anyway. And came before Rikashora. The Lord's effulgence glowed brilliantly like fire. Holding kusha grass in his hand, he humbly greeted the demon. The Supreme Lord said, "My dear son of Shakuni, you appear tired. Why have you come such a great distance? Please rest for a minute. After all, it is one's body that fulfills all of one's desires." "Almighty One, please tell us what you intend to do, if we are qualified to hear it. Usually one accomplishes his purposes by taking help from others." Sukadeva Goswami said, thus questioned by the personality of Godhead in language that poured down upon him like sweet nectar, Rika felt relieved of his fatigue. He described to the Lord everything he had done. The Supreme Lord said, "If this is the case, we cannot believe what Shiva says. Shiva is the same Lord of the Pretas and the Pishachas, whom Daksha cursed to become like a carnivorous hobgoblin. O best of the demons, if you have any faith in him, because he is the spiritual master of the universe, then without delay, put your hand on your head and see what happens. If the words of Lord Shambhu prove untrue in any way, O best of the demons, then kill the liar so he may never lie again." Thus bewildered by the personality of Godhead's enchanting, artful words, foolish Rika, without realizing what he was doing, placed his hand on his head. Instantly, his head shattered as if struck by a lightning bolt, and the demon fell down dead. From the sky were heard cries of "Victory! Obeisances! And well done!" The celestial sages, Pitas, and Gandharvas rained down flowers to celebrate the killing of sinful Rikashora. Now Lord Shiva was out of danger. So, there you have it. I love that story. It's so, Vishnu just tricks him into killing himself. Just wonderful. So you might think, wow, that's pretty extreme, someone cutting off pieces of their flesh, attempting to cut off their head in order to get a boon. But actually this is still going on. Like last year, maybe some of you have heard about this. I know I told you. But last year, there was a Gujarati couple that made a sacrificial fire, made a guillotine, and decapitated themselves so that their heads rolled into the fire. So this was last year. So this is still going on. And it was said that they were practicing black magic. Yeah, don't know. I mean, Divya Jasinga, what? Well, I don't know. The news did not report on that. I wondered that too, if they got. What?
So you're with Lord Shiva today.
Yeah. Yeah, and their children, they left 2 children behind. They were like young teenage children, like 13 or so, or 12 and 13, I think. And, huh?
What did they want?
Well, CBS News did not tell. Yeah, and I looked at many different articles, and there was no mention of what boon they wanted. It just said that they had been worshiping Lord Shiva every day for a whole year. They had made a little shrine, and then they had sent their kids to go visit their uncle, and then they did this ritual and left behind a note saying, please take care of the kids. Yeah, and then it was mentioned that they were practicing black magic for some reason. It was also mentioned that they had no financial troubles or sickness either. So it's really unknown what was going on, but this stuff is still going on. Probably not very often, but it is still happening. So the problem with demigod worship is that we cannot worship the demigods back to Krishna. Like, we can't just do that. So in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. So we can't just worship the demigods and think, okay, we're going to get back to Krishna, which sometimes people think that. So in the purport to that verse, it talks a little bit about black magic and stuff. So let's see, I wanted to read some of that. Okay, I'm just going to read the purport. It's not a part of it. Okay. If one has any desire to go to the moon, the sun, or any other planet, one can attain the desired destination by following specific Vedic principles recommended for that purpose, such as the process known as Darsha Parnamasa. These are vividly described in the Fruit of Activities portion of the Vedas, which recommends a specific worship of demigods situated on different heavenly planets. Similarly, one can attain the Pitta planets by performing specific yajna. Similarly, one can go to many ghostly planets and become a yaksha, raksha, or pishacha. Pishacha's worship is called black arts or black magic. There are many men who practice this black art, and they think that it is spiritualism, but such activities are completely materialistic. Similarly, a pure devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead only achieves the planets of Vaikuntha and Krishna Loka without a doubt. So, yeah. Okay, so I wanted to ask you guys if you could tell me a time like when you wanted something and you got it, but it ended up not being so good for you. Yes. Oh, here, hold on. Okay. Sorry, Prabhuji.
I remember in high school, I had started smoking weed, and I told myself if I could just like eat, smoke weed every day, my life will be great. And then it happened, and once it happened for a couple years, I was like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Exactly. That's yeah.
So for asking question.
What did you say?
What was bad? Why did it suck?
Yeah.
Oh, because, initially, you smoke and it might distort your senses for a while, and so you feel a little bit better. You get to escape from this material reality. But after a while, especially like once you get real habituated to smoking, you're always irritated, especially when you don't have weed.
Yeah.
You can't eat without weed. you know, and then, yeah, you're just not happy. You're always smoking, but it's always like something that you got to go get, you know, and it's not a cheap thing. So, yeah, comes with a whole lot of problems.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. That's a great example. Does anyone else have another? Yeah. Uncle S. Prabhu.
It's not what you think, don't worry. When my first wife left Krishna consciousness, I tried remarriage. I thought I still needed to be married. That was worse than the first time. It was so hellish. But it was good because it convinced me that you're done, guy. You're done.
Yeah. Well, yes. And so at least there's some good comes out of both of these things. You got what you wanted. It didn't go well, but you realized kind of the futility of these things. How about anyone else? No? All right. So,
I'm just trying, I know I have an example.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I have I have one. What'd you say?
I'm too embarrassing.
Yours are too embarrassing? Yeah. I have a, yeah. I have an example that I've used before in this context, but there was when I worked at this gas station, there was this handsome paramedic that used to come in all the time, and we'd give him free coffee. And I thought he was very handsome. All the girls liked him. He was very handsome. And it turns out he liked me too. He thought I was a pretty girl. So he asked me on a date. And I was super excited. Yes, all right, we're going to go on a date. We went on a date, and oh man, it went terrible. Like he was just so boring, and he was mean to children, and he was kind of stupid, and I just, all that attraction just evaporated. It was just gone, and I didn't find him handsome any longer after that. And then my mother, she got so upset at me because I didn't want to continue dating him. She was like, he has a good job, he's handsome, he has a car, And I said, yeah, but I can't talk to him, and he's mean to children. I mean, the sick children, he's a paramedic. He was like mean to the children. Yeah, I also started to learn the futility of that, but it took a little while longer. So, all right, Lamonga, go ahead.
Since you told yours. Okay, so I have a similar situation as you, but a little bit different. I started I had a brief fling with this guy from Argentina when I was like 17. And like once we got together, I was like, oh yeah, like I finally got this like really handsome guy. He looked like supermodel too. And then I found out he was married.
Oh no.
With a kid. And he was like, oh, but I'm gonna leave her. And I was like, no. I like immediately like ghosted, but I couldn't get rid of him. Like he was like stalking me for several months. So it was pretty.
Yeah, that's hard.
It was pretty bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So all these stories, like, it illustrates the importance of why we need to just surrender to Krishna, right? Because we don't know what's good for us, right? We can't rely on what our mind is telling us, because our mind's telling us, oh, like go and smoke that weed and eat all that food, or go get married again, or date the handsome guy. That's what both of our minds are telling us. And in each case, it didn't work out because our mind is covered over by illusion, right? We don't know what is good for us. And so what is good for us is what the scriptures tell us, which is to surrender unto Krishna. You had something to Kirtaneshwar Das?
Yeah. Mind always going to cheat us. But I would comment about your comment about the way a brahmachari dresses. previous ages, their brahmachari was dressing in like either deer skin or tiger skin with a danda and a kamandalu. And actually, there's one pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where one very famous devotee who was one of Lord Chaitanya's like spiritual masters, because he's the god brother of Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master Ishvara Puri. So this devotee's name is Brahmananda Bharati. Brahmananda Bharati was wearing a tiger skin. He was a very elevated Vaishnava, but Lord Chaitanya really was kind of disgusted by the fact that he was wearing a tiger skin. So once when Brahmananda Bharati came to Jagannath Puri, he was there and they were saying, oh, Brahmananda Bharati is here. And Lord Chaitanya was looking at him. He said, I do not see Brahmananda Bharati. I don't see Brahmananda Bharati. And so surely he's not this man wearing a tiger skin, And Lord Chaitanya left, and that was kind of Lord Chaitanya chastising Brahmananda Bharati, that, don't wear a tiger skin. So then he turned him from the tiger skin to wearing a saffron loincloth. And then Lord Chaitanya paid obeisances to him. So Lord Chaitanya likes simple cotton or jute for brahmacharis in the age of Kali.
Well, I think that's lucky for you guys, because where would we source tiger skins? And then PETA would come after you and throw red paint on you, and it'd be a disaster.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In this purport, it's saying that generally Lord Shiva is depicted as white.
Yeah.
But every picture I see, Lord Shiva is blue.
He's blue, yeah.
Like, is that just my eyes, or do you guys see that too?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering why Prabhupada says white here.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen pictures of him white too, but mostly they're blue, like you said. I think, I always assumed it was just people like kind of getting carried away with the blue throat, and it just like expands.
Lord Shiva
And then the white, in this context, seemed like it was referring, because he covers himself in ashes.
ash. Yes, the ash.
So I think the pictures that depict him in white, I just assumed is the ashes.
It's gray ash, ashy color.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't always paint according to like parampara.
Right.
They'll show Lord Ram as being blue when he's green.
Yeah. All right. Is there any more? Yes, Uncle.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
You said, or the purport said that we don't worship demigods to get Krishna. Well, what are we doing on September? What's that all about? I mean,
Yeah, I think I have two answers for that. One is talk to temple management, and two is yes, like a friend's birthday party, I think.
oh, it's not about Ganesh. It's about a friend.
No, Ganesh is the friend.
Oh, it's his birthday.
Yeah, and so he's a friend of the devotees, but.
But we do worship Ganesh because he removes obstacles to devotional service.
What was that?
If you want to worship Ganesh, you do so to remove obstacles for
Right.
service. So it's an exception to the rule.
Okay, Jai, there you go. Yeah, I have asked Ganesh to remove obstacles for me. Ganesh was actually the very first deity I ever bought when I was like a teenager. I just thought he looked cool, and the lady at the store said he removed obstacles, and I thought, well, that's a good thing. So I got him, and he was like this big, and I had him for a long time. And so hopefully, he must have removed some obstacles because I'm here. So.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I think we'll just end here.
Rolling Stone says, you can't always get what you want, but you can always get what you need.
But you try sometimes, you might get what you need.
And that's generally what happens when we go to the demigods, you get what you need, like
Yeah.
a swift
All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki
kick in
jai.
the head by Lord Vishnu.